Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Simple English Talking. Today, I want to share a very powerful story with you. 5 months ago, I couldn't speak even one full sentence in English, not even, "How are you?" without thinking too much. I felt confused, stuck, and honestly, a bit hopeless. But today I can speak English clearly, confidently, and naturally. And I want to show you exactly how I did it. And no, I didn't spend money on expensive classes. I didn't travel to an English-speaking country. I didn't waste time on boring grammar books. This is not just my story. If you've ever felt frustrated with English, this could be your story too. I was where you are now, but I changed, and so can you. Let's go back to the beginning. Chapter 1. The Wake-Up Call. I still remember the day that changed everything. It was a normal afternoon. I was sitting in my room, scrolling through my phone. Suddenly, a video popped up on YouTube. It was a young man speaking fluent English with so much confidence. He was not from America or the UK. He looked like someone from my own country, but the way he spoke made me stop and listen. I could not believe how good he was. I felt surprised. I also felt something else. I felt ashamed. At that time, I had been trying to learn English for many years. I studied it in school. I read English textbooks. I watched English movies. But when someone asked me a simple question like, "How are you?" I became nervous. I forgot all the words I had learned. My heart beat fast. My mouth stayed closed. I was afraid to speak. I was not confident. And that day, after watching the video, I finally said to myself, "Why can he speak so well and I cannot?" That question stayed in my mind. I could not stop thinking about it. I started to feel angry, not at him, but at myself. I knew I had wasted many years just learning grammar rules. I had memorized vocabulary, but I never used it. I only studied English like a subject, not like a real language. I realized that I needed to change my way of learning. Later that evening, I looked in the mirror and said, "This is it. No more waiting. No more excuses. It's time to really learn English." That was my wake-up call. I knew it would be hard. I knew it would take time. But I also knew I could do it if I worked hard every day. That night, I opened a notebook and wrote a promise to myself. In 5 months, I will speak English with confidence. I will not be perfect, but I will be strong. I will practice every day. I will not give up. I wrote this with all my heart. I didn't know how I would do it yet, but I knew I had to try. The next day, I deleted all the games and useless apps from my phone. I followed English learning channels on YouTube. I changed the language on my phone and computer to English. I started to listen to English songs and podcasts. I wanted to surround myself with English all day. I knew I had to make English a part of my daily life. At first, it was difficult. I didn't understand many words. I had to pause and repeat videos many times. Sometimes I felt tired, but I remembered my promise. I reminded myself every day, this is your chance. Don't waste it. That first week was not easy, but it was powerful. I began to believe that I could really change. I began to believe that English was not something only special people could learn. Anyone could do it, including me. That was the beginning of my journey. The wake-up call changed my life. It gave me a new goal. It gave me hope. I was ready to start. I was ready to learn English, not just with my brain, but with my heart. Chapter 2. The Dream That Failed. Before I started learning English the right way, I had a dream. I wanted to get a better job. I wanted to travel to other countries. I wanted to talk to people from all over the world. And I knew that English was the key. So I made a plan. I bought English books. I downloaded grammar apps. I joined a local English class. I told myself, this time I will do it. For a few weeks, I was very serious. I studied hard. I read grammar rules every day. I tried to remember difficult words. I even made flashcards. But something felt wrong. Even though I was studying, I was not improving. I still couldn't speak English clearly. I still felt scared to open my mouth. I could write a little, but I could not talk. I didn't feel confident. One day during the English class, the teacher asked me to speak in front of everyone. My hands started to shake. My mind went blank. I could not say even one full sentence. My classmates looked at me, waiting, but I just stood there, silent. After the class, I felt so embarrassed. I thought, why am I still so bad at English? What am I doing wrong? That night, I sat alone in my room. I looked at all the books on my desk. I looked at my flashcards, my notes, my study plan, and I felt sad. I had worked so hard, but I still couldn't speak. My dream felt far away. I started to think, maybe I will never learn English. Maybe it is not for me. Maybe I should give up. But deep inside, a small voice said, don't give up. You just need to change your way. That voice gave me hope. I understood something important. My old way of learning was not working. I was focusing too much on grammar and memorizing. I was not using English in real life. I was not listening or speaking enough. That was why I failed. I realized that I needed a new dream, not just to study English, but to use English. I wanted to speak English in real conversations. I wanted to think in English, not just translate from my native language. I wanted to feel free when I spoke, not scared. That failure in the classroom was painful, but it taught me a lesson. It showed me what not to do. It opened my eyes. From that day, I decided to stop learning English the old way. I would start fresh. I would learn English the way children learn, by listening, repeating, and speaking every day. My dream did not fail. It just changed. And now, I was ready to follow a new dream. A dream where I could speak English with joy, with confidence, and with freedom. That failure was not the end. It was just the beginning. Chapter 3. A Promise to Myself. After failing to speak in class, I felt broken. But I didn't want to stay that way. I knew I had to change. I had to stop feeling sad and start doing something real. That evening, I took a walk alone. I didn't take my phone. I just walked and thought. I looked at the sky and said to myself, you are not weak. You are just learning. I knew I needed a new plan, a real plan. But before the plan, I needed something stronger, a promise to myself. I went home, sat at my desk, and opened a new notebook. On the first page, I wrote in big letters, "This is the start of my new English life." Then I wrote a promise to myself. I said I will practice English every day for 5 months. I will not focus only on grammar. I will listen, speak, read, and write every day. I will not be afraid to make mistakes. I will not stop, even if it gets hard. Writing those words felt powerful. It felt like a contract, but not with anyone else, with myself. I also wrote a list of reasons why I wanted to speak English. I wanted to get a better job. I wanted to speak with people from other countries. I wanted to help my family. I wanted to feel proud of myself. These reasons were important. They gave me energy. They helped me remember why I started. Then I made a plan that was simple and clear. Each day, I would spend 1 hour listening to English. It could be podcasts, stories, or YouTube videos. I would listen with subtitles first, then without. I would also try to repeat what I heard. I called this shadowing. I would speak with the video like I was talking with a friend. At first, it was hard. My tongue moved slowly. I felt shy even when I was alone, but I didn't stop. I also promised to talk to myself in English every day. While brushing my teeth, I would say, "Today is Monday. I will go to work. I feel tired but happy." When I walked to the bus stop, I would describe what I saw in English. "I see a red car. The man is wearing a blue shirt." These small sentences helped me think in English. I didn't need a teacher. I just needed practice. To keep my promise, I put a calendar on my wall. Every day I practiced, I marked an X in red. I didn't want to break the chain. It made me feel strong. Every red X was proof that I was serious. Sometimes I felt tired. Sometimes I didn't want to practice. But I remembered my promise. I remembered the boy who couldn't speak in class. I didn't want to be that boy again. I wanted to be the person who tried, who failed, but who kept going. This promise was not just about learning English. It was about believing in myself. It was about becoming a new person, someone who never gives up. Every word I learned, every sentence I said, was a small step. And with each step, I moved closer to my goal. Chapter 4. The First 15 Days. The first 15 days of my new English journey were not easy, but they were powerful. Every day I followed my plan. I listened to one English video or podcast for 1 hour. I chose easy content at first: children's stories, short English conversations, and English learning channels. I used subtitles at the beginning. When I understood better, I turned them off. This helped me improve my listening quickly. I also practiced speaking by shadowing. This means I listened to the speaker and repeated what they said at the same time. I tried to copy their voice, tone, and speed. At first it felt strange. I made many mistakes, but every time I repeated, I got better. I could feel my mouth getting used to the new sounds. I talked to myself, too. In the morning, I said things like, "I am brushing my teeth now." I am getting ready for work. At night, I said, I studied English today. I feel proud. These small talks helped me build my confidence. No one laughed at me because no one heard me. I was free to try, free to fail, and free to grow. On day 5, I made a video of myself speaking English. I talked for 2 minutes about my day. I said, today I went to the office. I answered emails. I ate lunch with my friend. I made many grammar mistakes, but I was happy. I was speaking real English. I watched the video and smiled. I knew I was getting better. By day 10, I started to dream in English. One night, I saw myself speaking to a tourist in English in my dream. When I woke up, I laughed. It felt strange, but also exciting. I thought, if my brain is dreaming in English, something is working. On day 12, I had a bad day. I was tired. I didn't want to study. I almost skipped my practice, but then I looked at the red X marks on my calendar. I didn't want to break the chain. So, I listened to a short English story and repeated it. I only practiced for 20 minutes, but it still counted. I was proud that I didn't stop. By the end of the 15 days, I had built a habit. English became part of my life. I didn't need to force myself anymore. I started to enjoy the process. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to speak more. I was no longer the person who waited. I was now the person who took action. The first 15 days showed me something important. Small actions done every day bring big changes. I was not perfect, but I was better than before. I was stronger. I was becoming the English speaker I dreamed of. Step by step, word by word, I was on my way. Chapter 5. Speaking Without Fear. After 15 days of daily practice, I felt a small change inside me. My English was still not perfect, but something bigger was changing, my fear. Before, I was always scared to speak English. I worried people would laugh at me. I worried I would say something wrong. But now I was speaking every day, even if it was just to myself. That fear was slowly getting smaller. One morning, I stood in front of the mirror and looked at myself. I said, "Good morning. How are you today?" Then I smiled and answered, "I'm fine. I feel ready to speak English today." It felt a bit silly, but it helped me feel comfortable with my own voice. I spoke louder and clearer. I started to like the sound of my own English. Then I took the next step. I went to a local tea shop where tourists sometimes came. I saw a man sitting alone with a map. I felt my heart beat faster. I thought, should I speak to him? For a moment, I wanted to run away. But then I remembered my promise. I remembered my goal. So I walked up to him and said, "Hello, are you visiting here?" He looked at me, smiled, and said, "Yes, it's my first time in your country." I felt my hand shake, but I smiled and asked another question. We talked for 3 minutes. I made mistakes, but I didn't stop. I didn't run away. I spoke. That day changed me. I felt strong. I felt brave. I didn't care about being perfect anymore. I cared about trying. And every time I tried, I became a little better. Speaking without fear does not mean you are never afraid. It means you speak even when you are afraid. I started to look for more chances to speak English. I joined an English-speaking group online. The people were friendly and kind. At first, I only listened, but then I slowly started to speak. "Hello, my name is Ong," I said in one meeting. "I am learning English every day." People smiled and said, "Nice to meet you." That small welcome gave me big confidence. Every day I told myself, mistakes are okay. Don't be afraid. This simple sentence helped me keep going. I made speaking English a normal part of my life. I asked for directions in English at work just to practice. I read news out loud in the morning. I even recorded myself reading stories, then listened to them again. I was not afraid to hear my own voice anymore. The more I spoke, the less fear I had. It didn't happen in one day, but step by step I learned something very important. Confidence comes from action. The more you speak, the stronger you feel. The stronger you feel, the more you want to speak. It becomes a beautiful circle. At the end of the month, I felt like a different person. I was still learning, still growing, but I was not afraid. I spoke with heart. I made many mistakes, yes, but I also made progress. My voice became my teacher, and I was proud of myself. Chapter 6. Learning to Think in English. One day while walking home from work, I realized something special. I was thinking in English. I looked at the sky and said in my mind, "The clouds are so white today." I didn't translate from my language. The thought came in English, and it came fast. It surprised me. I stopped walking and smiled. "Wow," I said, "this is working." Thinking in English was not my first goal. At the start, I only wanted to speak. But now, after many days of listening, reading, and speaking, my brain was changing. It was starting to use English without waiting. This felt like magic. Before this, I always translated in my head. If I wanted to say I am hungry, I first said it in my own language and then changed it into English. That took time and made me slow. But now simple thoughts came directly in English. I need to eat. I will go home now. Tomorrow is Sunday. These small thoughts came naturally. I felt happy and free. I decided to train my brain even more. I created small tasks every day. While cooking, I named everything in English. This is a spoon. This is rice. I am cooking rice now. When I walked outside, I described things around me. A boy is playing. The sun is hot. The bus is late. I didn't need paper or a book. I just needed to look and speak in my mind. At work, I used English to plan my day. Check email, print report, call customer. I wrote my to-do list in English. It was simple, but it helped. I started to use English for messages and notes to myself. My brain began to think that English was normal, not special. That made learning faster. Sometimes I even tried to dream in English. Before sleeping, I listened to English audio stories. I told myself a story in English and tried to fall asleep with English in my mind. One night, I had a dream where I was speaking with a teacher in English. I didn't understand everything in the dream, but I was happy. It meant my brain was working hard even while I slept. The more I thought in English, the easier everything became. Listening was faster. Speaking felt more natural. I didn't need to stop and think all the time. It was like learning how to ride a bike. At first, you fall, you feel slow, but after practice, you ride smoothly without thinking about balance. English started to feel the same. I realized something big. Learning English is not just about knowing words. It's about changing the way you think. If you can think in English, you can speak in English. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to practice until it feels normal. I was now learning with my ears, my eyes, my voice, and my thoughts. I was becoming someone new, not just someone who studies English, but someone who lives with English. Every day was one more step, and I loved where I was going. Chapter 7. Sounding Natural, Like a Native. After I learned to think in English, I started to notice something new. I could speak English, but it didn't always sound natural. My grammar was okay, my words were correct, but something was missing. The way I said things did not sound like a native speaker. My sentences were a little too slow, or the tone was not right. I wanted to sound more natural, like people in English movies or podcasts. So I asked myself, how can I speak like them? The answer was clear. I needed to copy native speakers. I did not want to copy everything, but I wanted to learn how they talked. I started to listen more closely. When I watched YouTube videos, I didn't just look at the subtitles. I listened to the voice. I listened to how they moved their mouth, how they changed their tone, how they said words with feeling. One of my favorite things was to copy short sentences. I would pause the video and repeat the same sentence again and again. If the speaker said, "I'm going to grab a coffee," I repeated it, trying to match the speed, the sound, and even the small word changes. I learned that native speakers often say gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to. These small things made a big difference. At first, it was hard. I could not say the sentence exactly like the speaker, but I did not give up. I practiced every day. I used shadowing, where I played a sentence and repeated it at the same time, like an echo. It felt strange at first, but soon I began to feel the rhythm of natural English. It started to feel like music. Each sentence had a beat, a flow, and a tone. I also noticed how native speakers used their hands and face when they talked. They used body language and emotion, so I practiced that too. When I said, "That's amazing," I opened my eyes wide and smiled. When I said, "I'm not sure," I moved my shoulders like they did. These small things helped me feel more confident. I wasn't just saying words. I was communicating to sound more natural. I also had to learn about stress and intonation. In my native language, we speak in a flat tone. But in English, the voice goes up and down. When you ask a question, your voice often rises. When you are surprised, your voice is louder and faster. I practiced these changes. I recorded myself and listened back. If something sounded strange, I fixed it. Little by little, people started to notice. In my English group, one person said, "Wow, you sound really natural now." That made me smile. I still made mistakes, but I sounded more like a real English speaker, and that was a big success for me. I learned that sounding natural is not about having a perfect accent. It's about speaking with rhythm, using common phrases, and showing emotion. Even native speakers have different accents. So I stopped trying to sound like an American or British person. I just focused on sounding clear, friendly, and confident. Now, when I speak English, I don't worry too much about grammar. I focus on sounding real. I ask myself, would a native speaker say it like this? If not, I find a better way. Sometimes I search how to say this in natural English, and I read the answers. I learn something new every day. Speaking naturally takes time, but it's fun. You feel like you are part of the world. English is not just a school subject. It's a way to connect with people, to tell stories, to share ideas. When I speak English now, I feel like myself, a better, braver version of myself. Chapter 8. The Power of Stories. One day, while I was watching a YouTube video, I heard someone say, "If you want to learn English fast, listen to stories." That sentence stayed in my mind. I thought about it for a long time. I already liked reading and listening, but I usually listened to short lessons or grammar tips. I had not listened to many full stories, so I tried. I searched for simple English stories online. I found one about a boy and a dog. The story was short, easy to understand, and full of emotion. I listened to it 3 times. On the first try, I only understood about 60%. On the second try, I understood more. On the third try, I knew the full story. I smiled and thought, this is great. I am learning and having fun. After that, I made stories a part of my daily learning. In the morning, I listened to short fables while brushing my teeth. In the evening, I read short paragraphs before bed. Some stories made me laugh, some made me think, some even made me cry. I was not just learning English, I was feeling English. I noticed something amazing. Stories helped me remember words better. When I saw a new word in a grammar book, I forgot it quickly. But when I saw that word in a story, I remembered it. Why? Because stories have meaning. They have pictures in your mind. When the word storm appeared in a story about a ship at sea, I could feel the wind and the rain. I could see it in my imagination. That made it easy to remember. Stories also helped me understand grammar in a natural way. Instead of learning the past tense of go as went, I read he went to the market. I saw how grammar worked inside real sentences. It was like watching grammar in action, not just learning the rules. This made learning easy and enjoyable. Sometimes I read the same story many times. Each time I noticed something new, a word, a phrase, or a feeling. I read out loud, trying to sound like a real storyteller. I changed my voice for different characters. It made learning fun. It also helped me speak more clearly. I also started to write my own short stories in English. At first, they were very simple. A boy walks to school. He sees a dog. The dog is hungry. But slowly, my stories became longer and better. Writing stories helped me think in English, use new words, and practice grammar. I felt proud when I finished each one. Stories gave me a reason to use English. They showed me that English was not just for tests or work. It was for life. It was for dreams, ideas, and emotions. English became more than a language. It became my friend. When I felt tired or lazy, I didn't open a textbook. I opened a story. I listened to a tale about bravery or kindness, and suddenly I felt motivated again. Stories made me feel something, and feelings help us learn faster. Now I tell everyone who wants to learn English, don't just study, read, and listen to stories. Let the stories teach you. Let them take you on a journey. You will grow, and your English will grow with you. Chapter 9. Using English Every Day. After learning English for many weeks, I learned one big lesson. If you want to improve fast, you must use English every day, not just once a week, not just in class, every single day. English must become a part of your life, like food or water. I did not need to study all day. I just needed to do small things often. So, I made a simple plan. I decided to touch English many times each day. In the morning, I listened to English while I brushed my teeth. I found short podcasts or English songs that made me feel happy. They were fun and easy to follow. I did not stop my day to study. I just added English to the things I already did. When I used my phone, I changed the language to English. At first, it felt strange, but soon I learned many words like settings, notifications, and airplane mode. Every time I used my phone, I was learning English without trying hard. I also started to talk to myself in English. When I was walking or doing chores, I spoke out loud or in my mind. I said simple things like, "I'm going to the store now," or "This food smells good." It felt silly at first, but it helped me a lot. Speaking every day, even alone, made my mouth faster and my thoughts clearer. Reading became my daily habit, too. I read short stories, news articles, or social media posts in English. Even if I didn't understand every word, I kept reading. I learned to guess the meaning from the sentence. I also kept a small notebook. When I saw a new word, I wrote it down and used it in my own sentence later. One of the most helpful things was keeping an English journal. Every night I wrote 2 or 3 sentences about my day. Today, I was happy. I ate noodles. I watched a video about animals. It was very simple, but it was powerful. I was using real English from my real life, and I was doing it every day. Sometimes I used English while playing games or watching movies. I turned on subtitles and tried to repeat funny lines. I laughed, I learned, and I remembered the phrases. Games and movies made learning fun. I was not just learning, I was enjoying English. Of course, there were days when I felt tired, but I told myself, just 5 minutes today, and I did it. I listened for 5 minutes or read 1 paragraph. That small step kept my habit strong. After a while, English became normal for me. I did not have to force myself anymore. Using English every day changed my thinking. I started to feel closer to the language. I didn't feel like a student. I felt like a real English speaker. Even when I made mistakes, I felt good because I was using the language with my heart. The best part was this. The more I used English, the more I loved it. It was not just a subject. It became a part of my world, and that made me stronger, happier, and more confident. Chapter 10. Mistakes I Stopped Making. In the beginning, I made many mistakes while learning English. I was shy, I was afraid, and I did not know how to learn in the best way. But over time, I learned from these mistakes. I stopped doing the wrong things, and I started doing the right ones. One big mistake I made was thinking I needed perfect grammar. I used to worry a lot. Is this the right tense? Is that verb correct? Because of this, I was slow to speak. I waited too long before saying anything. But later, I learned that communication is more important than perfect grammar. Native speakers make grammar mistakes, too. What matters most is the message. Now I speak more freely. I fixed my grammar over time, but I never stopped speaking. Another mistake I made was only learning with books. Books are good, but they are not enough. I used to read grammar books every day, but I could not speak well. I needed to listen more, speak more, and feel the language. Now I use books for support, but I also watch videos, talk to people, and listen to English every day. I also made the mistake of learning too many new words at once. I would write 20 or 30 new words a day and try to remember them all. It didn't work. I forgot them quickly. Later, I learned to focus on just 3 to 5 words each day. I used them in sentences. I wrote them in my journal. I said them out loud. And because I used them, I remembered them. Another mistake was being afraid of mistakes. I thought people would laugh at me if I said something wrong. So I stayed quiet. But then I realized mistakes are how we grow. Every time I made a mistake and learned from it, I got better. Now I smile when I make a mistake. I say, "Thank you, mistake. You helped me learn." I also used to compare myself to others. I would see people speak better than me and feel sad. Why can't I speak like that? I asked myself. But later I learned that everyone has their own path. Some people learn fast, some people learn slowly. That's okay. What matters is to keep going. Now I only compare myself to the past me. I ask, am I better than yesterday? If yes, then I am winning. Sometimes I tried to learn too fast. I wanted to speak like a native in 1 month. That was not possible. I got tired and almost gave up. Then I learned the power of small steps. I started learning a little every day. I made slow progress, but it was real progress. Today I am proud of how far I have come. I also stopped waiting for the perfect time to learn. Before I would say, I will study when I'm free, or I'll speak when I'm better. But that time never came. So I started now. I used 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I stopped waiting and I started doing. That changed everything. Now I don't make these mistakes anymore. I speak with confidence. I learn slowly and wisely. I focus on progress, not perfection. I smile when I make a mistake and I move forward. I want to tell every learner, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to feel slow. What matters is that you keep going. Learn from your mistakes. Grow from them. That's how you become strong. That's how you become a real English speaker. Chapter 11. Real Conversations, Real Progress. One day I realized something very important. I had learned many words. I had listened to many videos. I had written many sentences. but still, something was missing. I was not having real conversations in English. I was still afraid to talk with others. I wanted to speak, but I didn't know how to start. That's when I understood. Real conversations help you make real progress. I told myself, it's time. I must speak with people, not just with myself. So I looked for chances to talk. At first it was difficult. I felt nervous. My heart beat fast. But I knew that speaking is the only way to become better at speaking. I joined a free English speaking group online. People from many countries joined the video calls. Some were beginners like me. Some spoke faster. We all had the same goal: to practice English. In our first meeting, I said only 2 or 3 sentences. I said, "Hello, my name is Ang. I'm from Myanmar. I want to practice English." My voice was shaking, but I did it. After that, I felt proud. I had spoken English with real people. The next time, I spoke a little more. I said what I ate for lunch. I talked about the weather. Slowly, I started feeling more relaxed. I stopped thinking too much about grammar. I focused on the message. Real conversations taught me many things. I learned how people really speak. I heard short forms like gonna and wanna. I learned how to answer quickly. I made mistakes. But no one laughed. They helped me. We corrected each other in kind ways. That gave me courage. I also started voice chatting with friends on apps like WhatsApp or Telegram. We sent voice messages to each other. I could listen, think, and reply. It was good practice. Sometimes I had full conversations, and I didn't even notice how much time had passed. I was enjoying the moment, not worrying about English. Talking with real people showed me my weak points. Sometimes I didn't understand what someone said. So I asked, "Can you repeat that?" Or, "What does that mean?" I learned how to ask for help in English. That was a big step. I no longer felt afraid to ask questions. I also learned new phrases by listening to others. Phrases like, "It depends," "That's a good point," and "I agree with you" became part of my English. These were not from books. They were from real life. The more I spoke, the more I improved. I spoke faster. I made fewer mistakes. My words felt more natural. I started thinking in English during conversations. I was no longer translating from my language. That was real progress. Sometimes I made funny mistakes. Once I said "I am boring" instead of "I am bored." Everyone laughed, and I laughed too. But I never made that mistake again. Real conversations gave me real lessons. Now I try to speak English every week with someone. Even 5 minutes is enough. Talking with people gives me energy. It reminds me why I started learning English: to connect with the world. I want to tell every learner this. Don't be afraid. Start small. Say hello to someone. Ask one question. Join a speaking group. Talk to a friend. Every small step brings you closer to fluency. Real conversations make your English real, and real English brings real progress. Chapter 12. Confidence is a skill. At the beginning of my English journey, I believed something that was not true. I thought confidence was a gift. I thought some people were born brave and others were not. But later I learned a very important truth. Confidence is not a gift. Confidence is a skill. That means anyone can learn it, even me, even you. I was not confident at first. I was shy. I didn't like my voice. I didn't want to make mistakes. I was always afraid that people would laugh at me, so I stayed silent. I waited for the day I would feel ready, but that day never came. Then I read something that changed me. It said, "You don't become confident and then speak. You speak, and then you become confident." That was powerful. I understood that confidence comes from action, not from waiting. So I started doing small, brave things. I answered questions in English class. I sent short voice messages in English. I joined group chats and said one sentence. Each small action made me stronger. At first, I was still nervous, but I did it anyway. And little by little, my fear became smaller. Confidence also grew when I prepared. If I knew the topic, I felt better. So before a conversation, I learned a few useful words. I practiced in front of a mirror. I said, "Hello, how are you?" and "Nice to meet you." Again and again, I trained like a speaker. I was building my skill. Another thing that helped me was changing my thinking. Before, I said, "My English is bad," but now I say, "My English is growing." That small change made a big difference. I stopped judging myself. I started cheering for myself. I also stopped waiting to be perfect. I understood that native speakers are not perfect either. They also say, and They also forget words. So why should I feel bad? I accepted my level and worked to improve it. That gave me peace and power. One more thing helped me grow confidence: celebrating success. After every conversation, I said, "Good job." Even if I made mistakes, I focused on what I did well. I gave myself a high five in my mind. I was my own supporter. Now, when I speak English, I feel strong. I still make mistakes sometimes, but I don't stop. I keep going. I look people in the eye. I speak with a smile, and people listen. Because confidence is not about perfect English. It's about speaking with your heart. To every learner reading this, I say, you can build confidence. Start small. Keep going. Prepare, practice, be kind to yourself. Speak even when you are afraid. Speak again and again. One day you will feel it, that warm feeling inside. That is your confidence growing, and it is a beautiful thing. Chapter 13. The Final Breakthrough. One day something amazing happened. I was sitting in a cafe reading a short English article on my phone. A tourist from another country walked in and looked confused. He asked the waiter something, but the waiter didn't understand. I stood up and said, "Excuse me, maybe I can help." I talked with the tourist in English. I gave him directions. We even laughed together. After he left, I sat down and smiled. That was my final breakthrough. At that moment, I realized I was no longer afraid. I had just spoken English without thinking too much. I didn't plan my words. I didn't feel nervous. I just helped someone. And I used only English. This moment did not come suddenly. It came after many small steps. I had studied, listened, read, practiced, and made mistakes. I had learned new words. I had joined speaking groups. I had built confidence slowly, and now everything came together. My English felt natural. After this event, I began to speak more freely. I stopped worrying about being perfect. I focused on communication. I knew that my grammar was not always correct. I still made small mistakes, but I could speak. I could understand. I could help. That was success to me. Every week I tried something new in English. I wrote short diary entries. I watched English news. I read small storybooks. I even started dreaming in English. That surprised me the most. I woke up one morning and remembered a dream where I was talking to someone, all in English. That was the sign. My brain had truly accepted this new language. I also noticed another change. When I watched videos or movies in English, I didn't always need subtitles. I could understand most of it. I started to laugh at jokes. I could feel the meaning, not just hear the words. I was living the language, not just learning it. Even my thinking had changed. When I wanted to say something, I didn't translate from my first language anymore. The English words just came. They were simple, but they were there. It felt easy. It felt like magic, but it was not magic. It was hard work. My final breakthrough was not about speaking like a native speaker. It was about being myself in English. I could talk about my life, my job, my dreams, and people could understand me. I was not just a learner. I was a user of English. This chapter of my journey made me proud. I remembered the first day when I could not even say, "How are you?" without shaking. And now I could hold a full conversation with a stranger. I had come so far. If you are learning English, remember this: your final breakthrough will come. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will come. Every word you learn, every video you watch, every mistake you make, it is all leading you to that moment. Keep going. Your breakthrough is waiting for you. Chapter 14. If I can do it, so can you. Now I want to say something from my heart. If I can do it, so can you. I am not special. I am not a genius. I did not have the best books or the best teachers. I did not live in an English-speaking country. But I had one thing: the will to keep going. When I started learning English, I was scared. I didn't believe in myself. I thought English was too hard. I thought I would never speak well. But I was wrong. I just needed time, practice, and hope. I made many mistakes. I said the wrong words. I forgot basic grammar. I didn't understand fast English. But I never gave up. I kept learning. I watched cartoons, listened to easy podcasts, and spoke to myself. Slowly, step by step, I got better. I remember the small victories. The first time I understood a full sentence. The first time I answered a question. The first time someone said, "Your English is good." Those moments gave me energy. I said to myself, "Yes, I can do it." Some days were hard. I felt tired. I wanted to stop. But I always remembered my dream: to speak English well and to understand the world better. That dream helped me stand up and try again. If you are learning English now, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Many people feel shy. Many people make mistakes.